Welcome to the latest tutorial on how to program your Daemon 3.0 using the VESC tool. This version was made on September 8th, 2023, and it's made for the Stormcore 60D running on VESC firmware version 5.3. So when you connect up the Stormcore to the VESC tool, it's going to say that the VESC has too old of firmware, so you're going to need to update the firmware first by going over to the firmware tab, selecting Stormcore 60D, and then going to the VESC default bin on the right side. None of the other tabs need to be checked, that's all good. And then you can go to the update all button in the bottom right here, click yes, and this process is going to take quite a while. I've sped it up to 20 times speed right here. So we're basically just uploading the version 5.3 firmware to the Stormcore 60D right here, and it's really important that the ESC doesn't get unplugged or turned off at any point during this cycle. Once the firmware update is completed, the Stormcore will disconnect itself for about 10 seconds before turning back on and rebooting, at which point you can navigate back to the main tab in the VESC tool. Alright, with 5.3 uploaded, the first thing we're going to want to do is hit auto connect again, and this time you'll get a green message in the bottom right corner. Setup motors FOC, we'll click no, then we'll go to eSkate as the option we want. We'll go next, click medium outrunner motor for the 6374s, click yes again. We have 12 cells in series. Our battery capacity on the 12S 4P P42A is 16.8 AH. If you're using a 12S 3P with 40 Ts, this will be 12, and if you're using a 12S 4P with 40 Ts, this will be 16. But for the stock Daemon 3.0, 16.8A for the 12S 4P from Duck Battery Systems, the P42A. Next here, battery systems, okay, we'll set those later. The motor pulley has 15 teeth. The wheel pulley has 38 teeth. Wheel diameter is 102, even though the mad wheels are 105. If you're using the AT setup, it's going to be 1565 with 175 for the 7-inch, and 1565 with 150 for the 6-inch. 14 motor pulls is what we have. So once we hit run detection right here, you're going to set yes, and your motors are going to start spinning. Alright, so we can see the detection results right here. You'll want to make sure that your numbers are roughly what they are as shown here in the video. So we're going to hit OK here, and in this phase right here, we're going to set the direction that the motors turn. So you'll want to test by clicking forward. And that motor's spinning the correct direction, so we don't need to do anything. And then we'll check the second motor. And that also spins the correct direction. If it was spinning the wrong direction, we just toggle inverted, and then when you click forwards, it'll just have the motor go the other direction. So I'm just going to leave it back untoggled on forward and forward, and then we'll hit finish. So at this point, the motors are configured there. We're going to go over to the general settings on the left right here, and we're going to set all of our current limits. So for the motor current max on the Daemon 3.0, La Croix with the 60D currently recommends 75 amps as the maximum motor current. So we set that to 75 amps. We are going to set the braking to -70. That's just kind of what I found to be my sweet spot. For the battery current max, we're going to set this to 40 amps. And the battery max regen, I usually set this to -12. So that's everything you need to do in this tab. If we go to any of the other tabs, you can play around with these a little bit more if you're more familiar with the VESC tool. But for the most part, everything else is good. So what we will do is we will write this configuration over here on the right. Motor configuration updated in the green. And then we'll go over to the second VESC down here. And we'll repeat the exact same process, switching all these numbers to be identical to what we just set them to. So 75 for motor max current, -70 for the brake, 40 for the battery max current, and -12 for the battery max regen. And then we'll write those settings to the configuration as well. Now, the last step that we have in here is the app setting. So what we're going to want to make sure we're using is UART for the app right here. We're going to go over down into UART, VESC remote. We're going to make sure that the control type is set to current. Sometimes it's set to off. If it's set to off, basically when you throttle, the board won't move. So make sure it's set to current. And then we're going to write the app configuration here as well. One thing that is really nice about having a VESC-based ESC is you can really customize the feeling of your board. So if you go over to the throttle curve here, you can really begin to customize what you want your throttle to look like. So increasing or decreasing throttle expo can lead to a different brake curve if you want a weaker brake curve. You can also change the type of curve you want. Right now I have mine set to exponential, but you can also do polynomial or natural for a slightly different feeling. So I've been using exponential on 30% throttle expo and 30% expo brake lately, and I find it's a pretty punchy feeling to the board. I find that for beginners, just leaving it at natural with 0 and 0 tends to be a decent ride. It's a little bit easier to get used to, especially since this board is heavy on the acceleration. But for me, exponential with 30-30 is the way that I go with my personal Demon 3.0. And then once you've configured this, you can also go to write configuration there. So once we've done all this, the board is completely configured. There's also a VESC Tool app available for mobile devices, so if you ever want to tweak your settings a little bit, simply just connect up your board to your mobile device and you can make slight tweaks to the configuration of your board, which is awesome, making your board fully customizable on the go. If your remote is connecting to your board, but the board is not working, best way to troubleshoot is to make sure that the app selected is UART and that the VESC remote is set to current. If these are not checked correctly, the board will not work, and I found that a lot of the times an issue with a board not working is one of these two settings not being set correctly. So there you guys have it. That's how you program the Demon 3.0 in this version of the VESC tool. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, let us know in the comment section below or reach out to us on email, propulsionboards@gmail.com. I hope this helps you set up your Demon 3.0. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.